What's up, Jets fans? It's Christian from the Jets Report. And as everyone knows, the Jets recently just suffered a devastating blow when Carl Lawson, the premier free agent addition, suffered a ruptured Achilles at the joint practices with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, this is terrible news to the Jets and something you don't want to see, as everyone was expecting a big season out of Carl Lawson, including me, and it's just awful for this defense and this team as a whole. But obviously, now we have to rebound and we have to look forward. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing a few different options or routes the Jets could take to replace Carl Lawson and try to get some production from the edge position without their best player. But before we get into the video, I just want to let you know you can follow me on Twitter at Jets_CP. I love interacting with the fans and love seeing you guys' takes, and really mean a lot if you give a follow. So at Jets_CP on Twitter, and let's get into the video. This loss of Carl Lawson is obviously so big because of the importance of the edge rusher and the D-line in general and getting after the quarterback in Robert Saleh's defensive scheme. The edge rusher needs to win their one-on-one battles in this scheme and get to the quarterback quickly, so the quarterback is rushed and has less time to throw, which gives the DBs an advantage with taking less time to cover the receivers. And a guy like Carl Lawson was supposed to be the premier guy getting after the quarterback and being the most consistent guy, so losing him, there's a big hole to fill with getting reps and making plays on defense. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a couple ways to how the Jets can fill that role, and with the recent Adam Schefter report saying that the Jets are actively trying to fill that role, I'm just going to list a few ways the Jets could do that and just give you guys my opinion on each way and what I think the Jets should go with. The first route I could see the Jets taking with this Carl Lawson injury is just sticking with the talent we have in-house and seeing what happens and rolling with that. Obviously, I don't see us being a contender or even a Super Bowl contender, obviously, this year. So maybe we don't spend the draft picks to make a trade or spend the money on signing a free agent. And we just stick with the talent we have in-house and use this as an evaluation year and really move forward with the edge position next year. We have guys like Jonathan Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, Vinny Curry, who are all solid players. Obviously, none of them are going to be Carl Lawson, and missing Carl Lawson is going to be a huge hole that multiple guys are going to have to fill and have the next man up mentality. But a guy like Jonathan Franklin Myers has been a solid piece in the Jets defensive line for the past few seasons, and he's been very versatile, being able to play on the inside and the outside. And maybe if he just converts to a mainly an outside guy and just continues and focuses on getting reps at one position, it could benefit him, and we could see him step into a bigger role this year, which I would absolutely love because I feel like he is very underrated in the matter of the NFL world. You also have a guy like Bryce Huff, who is an undrafted free agent out of Memphis this year, who had a limited role last year, but who's been really showing a lot of potential in camp and in preseason this year. And maybe if you give him a lot of reps, he could get comfortable and get experience and really gain some confidence, and he could be the future of the edge position, lining up to a guy like Carl Lawson when he comes back next year. And you also have a guy like Vinny Curry, who's a solid veteran, respectable. He has Super Bowl experience. He's always been a solid guy. At this point in his career, he's more of a rotational guy, but he could still be a good mentor to the younger guys like Jonathan Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, and even an undrafted free agent like Hamclair Rashid. And, Vinny Curry could just be a solid guy. You could expect 5 sacks, 6 sacks out of him if he plays the full season. He's going to be back in week 2 this year because he's on the PUP list. But, Vinny Curry could be a solid guy this year, and I feel like we have a respectable edge guys. We don't have that star like Carl Lawson, but I think if we rolled with this, it wouldn't be the worst thing, and it might not cost us a lot of games, but, it's not the most exciting option, but I feel like it could be a logical option. The second option I want to talk about when it comes to replacing Carl Lawson is probably the most flashy and is probably the least likely one to happen, and that is acquiring Chandler Jones from the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, I would absolutely love this move, as would many other Jets fans, because Chandler Jones is an absolute beast. He seems like a double-digit sack machine every year when healthy. Obviously, last year he only played 5 games, so he didn't have that type of production. But at one point, he was a 19-sack guy a couple of years ago, and he consistently puts up double-digit sack seasons, and that's something you want out of an edge rusher and a premier guy like Chandler Jones. The price would be a little steep for Chandler Jones, and that's why I feel like it's less likely to happen. And I don't feel like Joe Douglas pulls a big-time draft pick to go get him, because I know how much Joe Douglas values the draft. The Cardinals aren't going to be too willing to give him up either. I know Chandler Jones does win out, but he's still a premier guy. I feel like the Cardinals might try to stay and hold on to him, but this could cost a first, a second-round pick, multiple picks. I mean, he's that good, and he's not on contract for that much longer. So this could be a little bit of a shaky option because we are not a win-now team, like I said earlier. Do I really want to give up a high-profile draft pick and get a player with that draft pick that could have control over many different years, or go get a stopgap guy like Chandler Jones, who's very good and very established, but you're not going to have him for a long period of time, and we're not really in a win-now mode to go get a stopgap guy like Chandler Jones. Obviously, he would be a beast in this defense, and Robert Saleh would love him, but I just don't really see this one happening. I would love if it would happen. I know what a lot of Jets fans would love if it would happen, but I don't really see this one happening. And let's move on to the next option. The third route I could see the Jets taking when it comes to replacing Carl Lawson is just signing a veteran free agent edge rusher that is still left at this point in training camp. Obviously, this guy wouldn't be too high profile because they're still available as a free agent at this point in the offseason, but it also would come and be a pretty cheap addition, most likely on a one-year deal, kind of be like a stopgap type player, and that could be beneficial to a team like the Jets who aren't really in a win-now mode and aren't really looking to spend a high draft pick to get a guy like Chandler Jones because of how it affects the rebuild. But some guys that come to mind when I think of cheap veteran free agent stopgap type players are Ziggy Ansah and Dion Jordan, who both have experience with Robert Saleh from San Francisco, and guys who Robert Saleh relatively likes and could see in more of like a rotational role next to guys we already have like Vinny Curry, Bryce Huff, and Jonathan Franklin Myers. Obviously, you can't expect too much out of the guys like Ansah and Dion Jordan because they're not too high profile. You can't expect double-digit sacks. You can't expect too many big plays, but if they could be solid, produce some sacks, take up some reps, be a good veteran presence, I would love the move because I feel like that's what we need at this point because we're not in a win now mode. We don't need to go out and win a Super Bowl. We just need solid production for the edge position and really move forward next year when Carl Lawson comes back. The fourth and final option that I want to talk about when it comes to replacing Carl Lawson is Dante Fowler Jr. from the Atlanta Falcons. This is personally my favorite option because I think he's a very good player, but it's not going to take the amount of draft picks and to get a high-profile guy like Chandler Jones. But Fowler has been pretty inconsistent throughout his career. In 2019, he had a great season, posting 11 sacks and 35 quarterback pressures. But in 2020, you could see his sack numbers were inconsistent. Then dropped down to 3 sacks, and he only recorded 23 pressures. So obviously, when it comes to Dante Fowler, he's a little inconsistent, but one thing if you notice is he continues to get after the quarterback even if the sacks aren't there, which is something similar that Carl Lawson has had throughout his career, and one of the reasons the Jets liked him so much. The Jets have also been tied to Dante Fowler throughout his career, feels like the past few seasons. Every offseason there's always rumors that we might go and get him, and I feel like eventually he would be on the roster, and I feel like this is the perfect time to bring him in when we're so thin at the position. Dante Fowler isn't as good as a guy like Chandler Jones, to be straight up, but he can be a solid guy and can be a solid producer in the Robert Saleh system, and I feel like Robert Saleh could bring the best out of a guy like Dante Fowler. I'm not expecting the double-digit sacks. I mean, that is because he is so inconsistent, but I could see him consistently getting after the quarterback, and this would only cost like a third or fourth round pick maybe from the Atlanta Falcons compared to a guy like Chandler Jones, who may even cost like a first or second round pick, which I do not want to do. So this is my favorite option, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below about what you think we should do with Carl Lawson, and as always, go Jets.